What makes our chair unique and the best is that the manufacturer that stands behind it and the accessories that kind of come on board with it. So it uses a mid-wheel drive design, which actually gets the most maneuverable, tightest turning radiuses there that are available, but incorporates actually a dynamic suspension that provides the consumer with a comfortable, smooth ride in varying terrains. And on top of that platform, we use innovative electronics that allow a lot of unique features to the consumer that provide them with options to see different displays on the screen and actually utilize things in their environment as well. So it becomes more than just a mobility device. It actually provides them in ways to manipulate their environment too. We use what's called active track suspension, and particularly on the 6000Z, we have ATX, where our front caster is actually linked with our drive wheel. So as the front caster goes up or hits an obstacle and gets lifted, the drive wheel actually goes down. That increases stability and traction for the end user. So we're trying to prevent them from getting stuck anywhere and actually have a smoother ride. And so you can see the front spring up here, and the linkage is actually tied in. So the front caster works actually inversely to the drive wheel. So as the front caster actually comes up, you kind of see the motor and the drive wheel go down. So for the rear suspension of the Quantum 6000Z, we actually provide what's called an articulating beam, which has a center hinge point. So as it goes over some lateral objects, lateral instability, you can see that the seat actually still stays level. So even though my rear end is tilted or trying to tilt one way, we're still trying to keep the actual end user level and flat so they're not feeling all that jarring motion left and right. As far as vertical instability, we actually have the two-strut system as well. So even if they're going over objects either in a rear fashion or forward and filling those bumps, we try to compensate for the vertical instability or vertical motion too. Before, if you hit an obstacle straight on the caster, you're okay. It's going to engage the suspension and lift up out of the way. But you know, a lot of people in different environments are actually hitting obstacles at different angles. We're veering into curbs and curb cutouts. If you would just hit the side of the wheel or this caster fork right here, it actually prevents the suspension from engaging, and you actually start dragging along it. And that came up with the development of these Omni casters that actually force that the curb cutout or the obstacle underneath, lifting that front caster up and actually getting you to be able to clear the obstacle or drive over it. Both the 6-mile-an-hour and the 8-mile-an-hour packages are both what's called 4-pole motors to provide max torque with speed and efficiency. It's a geared motor. It's not a belt-driven system. On the back of each of our motors, there is a bright yellow lever, and it's a simple up-down release. There's a diagram on the side that has up to engage and down to put into freewheel or neutral. We actually have an accessory which is called AccuTrack, which is basically providing accurate tracking of the motors. More frequently used for people who are not using a joystick but use switch drives. So that way if they're pushing one switch to actually go straight forward, it actually reads the motor revolution so we can actually have them track forward. Depending on the terrain they're in, the chair would normally want to be thrown or veering one way, right or left, but the AccuTrack actually helps them track in a straight fashion. The front and rear casters are going to be fixed and standard for the sizes you see. The actual drive tires themselves are a 14-inch drive tire, and the size you see on here is the standard, what you'll see on an order form. We do make a wider tire. It adds about an inch of width on each side, and you can get that in flat-free, foam-filled, or a pneumatic. But that will have width of the chair, but if you go pneumatic or air ride, it can add a little more comfort for the person driving the chair. But also if you go to the balloon tires or the wider tires as well, you may get some more durability over some rougher terrain as well. So there have been some concerns or questions brought up as far as the chairs stopping abruptly or having some listing forward in a mid-wheel drive chair, and ways to change that. Are there spring tensions that can be adjusted on the front suspension? So if for some reason that it's rocking forward, the spring tensions can be increased so it wouldn't do that. But we find that the best way to prevent that really is through programming. The deceleration rate or how quickly it's going to stop on you can be adjusted easily through the computer. And also center of gravity. We find a lot of times that the center of gravity, or where the seat is in relation to the base or the wheelchair, it may not be optimized. So that can be adjusted easily on our systems. So to prevent that weight from being too far forward, it just gets shifted back another inch or 2 inches, so it optimizes how the suspension responds in different environments. The miles per charge that is listed in the owner's manual is tested the way the industry standards are set up and the way we're required to test. Typically we do see it when consumers get in the environment, hills and terrain and starting and stopping all play a factor in that. So range is very ambiguous because it truly is client dependent, whether they live in a flat rural area like, say, Sacramento, up to San Francisco in the hills. So it can vary widely. We know that it's going to get exposed to the environments and the elements, not just puddles, but also rain and things like that are going to, occur around the chair. So we try to seal everything as best we can. Of course, submerging it in a puddle or having it sit outside in a drenching rain is not a good idea. But we do know that it is going to be exposed to environments, and so we use gaskets and seal wherever we can to make sure it's going to be as protected from the environment as possible. Quantum rehab, we do not sell direct to the consumer. We use a provider network, and within that provider network, we do have provider standards that are published and online, and I do believe they still are the toughest in the industry for our providers to adhere to. We do require them to not just sell our products, but they have to service everything that they're selling. So there is a maintenance level involved in that, and then there's a level of expertise with that maintenance. When you're discussing a quantum rehab and the rehab products, we require that they have an assistive technology professional on staff, that they maintain that seating professional who understands the rehab side of the industry and how to properly fit and provide rehab products. Also, that they have a rehab technician on staff who can service what they're selling as far as everything from programmability and adjustments inside the computers to seating, power positioning, and service the products that are sold. Should someone be traveling cross country and or just be away from their home and not be aware of who to use in this location, on our website we do have a provider locator where they can plug in a zip code and get providers that are in that area. And levels of service and expertise are actually listed on the website.
Pride's Quantum 6000Z. Transportation provided by the Braun Intervan. www.braunability.com. Brought to you by the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation and Gold Pictures. Filmed on location at Universal Studios, California.